Hi. So today I'm going to talk about sprites, everything sprites. We're going to go back into the game that we created before from the hub. So I'm starting in the hub and I'm going to open my project 2D game Spring 2026 by clicking on it once and it should automatically open. It'll take a few minutes to load. I should be able to see it down here loading. Here it is, already up and loaded. We talked about last time how to use backgrounds that are already existing in Playground. But today I want to talk about how to add your own artwork. So if you're adding your own artwork or downloading artwork from the internet, either using the asset store or any licensed free um, images, or even Chat GPT, for example, if you're having some sort of AI built artwork, which is perfectly fine as long as you don't call it your own and you call it AI. It's great. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I've created a file with my own artwork, which I exported from Procreate as a PNG. I took off the background and exported it as a transparent with a transparent background PNG, except for my background, which is solid. So next I'm going to go ahead and slide this over so I can reveal my files here. Here's my 2D art assets, and I have them here. I've got an ocean background that I created. I've got two penguins. I've got a sardine that I created. You can see it has no background. It's been exported as a PNG. Okay. If I was these are some from a different game that I created that are multiple things like a tree and some bushes and flowers and stuff. Okay. And I've also got this background. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a theme since I've got an ocean theme already started. I'm going to open this up. Actually, I'm not even going to open it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop it into my backgrounds in my project. So I will click on it. See if I can click on it and drag it into my project here, into my project file here and let it go. And open this back up here so you can see it. And now you can see it here inside my project. I'm going to select it. And over here in the inspector, I need to set a few things when I'm importing an image. Now remember, an image in 2D games is called a sprite. So right away, we need to check and make sure that this is in here as a sprite. If it isn't, you're going to need to adjust it, right? So make sure that you have it as a sprite. Okay, now it has single right here. We may have to change this later in the Sprite Editor when we're using our Sprite Editor. Like if we had, for example, in the tree one or the penguins where there's several on one sheet, we would be changing this to multiple. But right now we just have a single image here. Okay. The mesh type default is tight, and we want to have it tight. Okay, for this one. Extruding edges means that it just kind of softens the edges. And the pivot is automatically placed in the center for rotation purposes. Okay. And here over here, this button, you can see we have a sprite editor, which we're going to use in a little while. We're not going to use it for this one, but we just want to make sure all these settings are exactly the way that we want them. So right now, sRGB is perfect. Alpha's transparency is perfect. Maximum size here. We can make this smaller if we're making it for mobile, so we can always change our size if we wanted to. And I brought it in as a high resolution, but we can always change it to a lower resolution if, for example, we wanted to play our game on a mobile phone. Okay. And we just left our compression at normal quality. So this is all great. And it's here. If I expand it out, it's just showing me this right here, this little box here, which shows this is a sprite. Okay. Now I'm going to use this for my background. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag it into my scene and place it over my camera. I'm going to scroll out so you can see that my camera is much smaller than this background, which is okay for me because I'm going to be creating obstacles. If we look in my game view, you can see my uh, game image. If I go back here and I say move this over here, and then I go to my game image, you can see what it would look like in my camera. Okay, so we'll have our camera follow my character later on in this game. But for right now, this is perfect. I could make this a different shape, stretch it out if I wanted, or just drag this side out, make it long and stretchy if I wanted, which maybe I'll do later. I don't know. But for right now, I'm going to keep it the same size that I brought it in. You can also rotate it with your rotating tool here. This would change the angle of it. Okay. And you can move it with your move tool. If you click in the blue box, it moves it in any direction. Or if you click the arrows, it moves it in an individual axis. Okay. So I kind of want to have it just centered here for right now. It's totally fine because I'm going to be setting up a few other things and I don't need to do anything with this one. So we can change the title of it here if it comes in as something you don't like by double clicking here and changing it. I have it as ocean_BG for background, which is perfectly fine. Also, while I have it selected and I go back into the inspector, you can see that it is in the sprite slot. It's this image. It matches this image here. We can always replace this with a different sprite in the same section here by just dragging and dropping a sprite into that slot. And you can see it replaced right there. Of course, this is a much smaller resolution, but it's in the same sprite and the same game object here, and it's just changed the image. I'm going to go ahead and drag this back into here and make it my ocean again. Okay. We can also flip our pictures here, our sprites, by changing the X and Y axis if we want to, which comes in handy if we're trying to create a little bit of variation, or if we have something that was drawn facing one direction and we want it to go to the other direction. Okay. So we want it on simple right now because sliced is used for really UIs. If you have something like a square that's getting bigger or smaller and adjusting to your screen size, we would slice it. So right now we don't need this. Our visibility, oh, and tiled means that it would tile across our whole section. Let's see, we can do it and just show you. Continuous tile. Let's see. If I go to my game window, I can't really show you right here, but it does tile. And right now I want to have it just as a single one. So I'll just keep it at simple. This is very important. In our visibility options, we want to make sure that it's either at default 0 or background. You can do background or default. I usually keep mine on default, but 0 means it's furthest away from the camera because we're going to be layering sprites. And the higher the order in the layer, the closer it is to the camera. So this is very important. It's also very nice. You can tag this if you already have a tag. We have a bunch of tags here that were brought in by Playground. When I installed the Playground in here, automatically gave me a few tags. Or I can create a tag here by adding a tag. I don't really need to add a tag right now because it's my background and it's fine the way it is. So this is great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring in my other things. So like I'm going to bring in a character. I'm going to go to my project folders here in Stacey scenes because right now we're in this 2D game, as you can see here. 2D game scene. This is the symbol for the scene, 2D game. And I'm going to create a folder here with my own assets. So I'm going to right click and create a folder. And I'm going to call this character or characters, maybe plural. So this will be the characters that are going to be in this specific game in my folder. So you can see the order of it here. So Stacey, Stacey scenes, character. Okay. So I'm going to drag and drop now my character into this folder. So I'm going to go back into my 2D art assets and I'm going to take my penguin and I'm going to drag him, get a hold of him. Come on now. I'm not using my mouse like I should be. I drag and drop it into my folder here, into my characters folder. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing with my sardine. Okay, so I'm going to expand this back out again so you can see it. Okay, now we need to do the same thing we did for the background is we need to click on each of these and make sure the settings are correct. So for my penguin, yes, it's set as a 2D NUI, that's perfect, but it says single sprite. But in fact, we need to make this a multiple sprite, so we need to change this to multiple because there's more than one. And with this, I'm going to show you how we can cut these apart from each other. So like if I was to drag and drop it right now, there would be two of them together, as you can see. And I don't want to do that. I want them to be individual. So I need to cut them apart. And how do I do that? Because you can see them right here in the preview. I'm going to click on Sprite Editor and it will ask me to apply. So I apply my changes. Okay. And here I get a new window that opens up. This is my Sprite Editor, and this is where I can cut my sprites apart here by hitting slice. Okay, so in my Sprite Editor, I have a few different options. Usually you're just going to be using the editor itself, which is what we're going to be using today. So I'm going to go into slicing them apart. Now we can choose automatic, which is when Unity sees the images that are in there and does its best to cut a box around them. So it's going to create the pivot in the center. Maybe I don't want it at the center. I want to have my pivot at the bottom because if he's moving, I want him to move or bob from the bottom. So I'm going to change my pivot to bottom. And I'm going to say automatic and I'm going to say slice. Right away, we can see that this little box outlined each of my images. And this is exactly what I want. So it's cut these two very close. And this is going to be the outline of the transparency. So the transparency itself doesn't go exactly around my images, but it gives us a little box around here. Now I could change that if I wanted to do custom and go, in a custom setting, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and just let this be because it seems to be working just fine. The other options too is if I have a row and columns, I can do it by columns and rows. You can see this by either grid cell size or by cell count. So let's say I have 5 going this way and 7 going this way. I could do that by cell count and it will let me do that. So my columns, I have 1 column, say, and 1 row, and then I can slice it again. But it's perfect right now for what I need. I'm going to hit apply. And now you can see if I click on either one, I've got a couple of different options. This is to adjust the size manually if I wanted. And this is where I'm going to have the outline of my collider later on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close my Sprite Editor. And now if I extend this arrow out, you can see I have 2 separate sprites instead of 2 together. So if I wanted to drag him in, now you can see I've just got the one. So let me drag him in and drop him here. And as you see, he went up here, and I'm going to change the name of this to Penguin 1. Okay. And while I'm selected on Penguin 1, I can see the outline of him, but for some reason I can't see him. And if you remember me saying, well, we need to change this visibility layer, that the higher the number, the closer to the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this to at least 1. Maybe I'll do it as 2 because behind him I might have corals or something else. So I'm going to put it at 2 so he's closer to the camera. And also while I'm selected on him, I'm actually going to make him much smaller compared to this because my background is quite small. So if I select on the scale tool and I click on this white box and drag down, I can make him small uniformly. And now he can be about the right size. So if I move my camera, for example, let me move my camera. We can see him in my camera space. He's about the right size. I can make him even a little bit smaller. So let me go to my penguin and scale him down just a little bit more because I want him to be in the screen, but not too big in the screen. Go back to my camera so I can see him there. Yeah, that's about right because he's going to be inside this background and chasing some things around. Okay. Now this sardine I've created to be like a health sardine or a collectible. I haven't quite decided yet, which is okay. I need to set my import settings for my sardine also, so I need to double check that my 2D NUI is on, that it is a single and tight, but there's a couple of problems that I still have to do here. If I look in my preview editor, if I use this as a single, this means that the space around him is all the way around here. So if I put a collider on him, nothing would be even close to him. So what I need to be able to do is I need to go to my Sprite Editor and close down this. I need to be able to slice it. Now, because I have it as a single, it's not letting me slice it. I could adjust it manually, but what I'm going to do instead of having it as a single, I'm going to say it's a multiple. I'm going to kind of lie to Unity and say it's a multiple. Let's go to the Sprite Editor. And now I want you to go automatically and slice. And as you see, it created a much more close fitting image. And that's what I wanted because I need to be able to have just a, uh, a collider that comes right up close to him. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and say apply. And I'm going to close my Sprite Editor. And when I go like this, you can see he's going to be much thinner when I put him up on the screen. So if I go ahead and drag my sardine up here, of course he's ginormous, I'm going to scale him down. Oops. Because he needs to be smaller than my penguin. I'm going to put him at visibility layer at least 1. Because maybe I want him to be able to swim behind my penguin or swim behind some corals. So I'm going to put him up here and in my camera so I can see the size. Just double check it. That's looking pretty good. If I look in my game view, yeah, he's looking pretty good. I mean, his edges are a little funky. That's probably just because of the size that he is. So if I go to my sardine, I can always make him a little bit smaller as far as let's go to here. As far as his huge size here, let's take it down to here, maybe 512. And hit apply, because he was just too big. Let's see now in my game view. Okay, yeah, he got much smoother because he was way too big. So I've made him a little bit better in his quality, has lowered his quality down, and it fits much better within here. Okay, so that's how you import sprites and use your Sprite Editor. Now, let's say that I wanted to build some sort of grid in here like that has blocks, like to do a maze or something like this. I can go ahead and use a tile map to make this building much simpler. So first of all, this grid, I want to turn off this grid. And this grid is right here. You turn this on and off right here. Okay. And I want to go in here and I want to go to 2D object, tile map, rectangular. And I'm going to click that. And you'll see this other grid that pops up. Now within that, I want to be using some blocks inside my tile map to build like a maze or something. And I need to have a window for that. So I want to have my tile map window, which is under, gosh, see if I can remember what my tile map window is. 2D, here we go, Tile Palate. And I want to open this. This opens a new window here. I can dock this anywhere as long as I grab on the tab. Maybe I'll put it right here. And if I bring this up, I can pull these and make these a little bit bigger. You can see I've got green grass and I've got some wall stuff already in here. So I don't want to use this one. What I want to do is I want to go into my playground assets, into blocks, and I want to do something out of here, maybe like this one. And I want to put it in here first, drag and drop it into my tile map. And I'm going to call it, yeah, that's fine, crane. And it's going to save. Okay. Now I've got it inside of here in my tile map. And what I can do is if I select it inside of my tile map and make sure this paintbrush is turned on, I can hold down and press here and it will create a wall or anything I want it to. We need to go here first of all to make sure the visibility layer is in front. Let's see my grid. There you go. You can see it now in my tile map. So I've created this. I can hold shift and go back over it to erase. Okay. So anything I select in my tile palette, like this one, but this block is too big for this grid, but it's okay. I could use it if I wanted to. I could go ahead and very easily build platforms and mazes with this. You know, by adding a component down here on my tile map, if I add a collider, I would want to add a tile map collider 2D. It would automatically add a collider onto anything that's inside of my tile map, even as I draw it. So I can keep drawing it and it will still have a collider. So this is a really easy, great feature to use if you want to use these little building blocks in tile maps. Okay, this you can use, it's great for platforms, for building mazes, for building like little grass hills and things like this. Okay, so I hope that's clear for using tile maps. I got an error here. I just want to check it. Okay, that one's fine. So that's all you need to do tile maps and bring in sprites and edit them. There's other things you can do in the Sprite Editor, but for now, that's all we need to know for creating this game. There's, like I said before, there's something called a 9 slice that evenly slices out square objects and expands them for tiling, which we don't need right now. Okay. All right, so happy installing all of your own artwork into your game. And then in the next video, I'm going to show you how you can add scripts to your game object from the playground so that you can get your game moving.